This is Sky Magazine's coverage of LUFDA versus Texas TUFF. Texas down 7-5 to LUFDA. Adita Yarpagado with the disc on the forehand sideline. High stall situation. Getting it off to number 22, Chris Brooks. Brooks hammer over the top to Mitchell Bennett, who makes a skying grab for it. The lefty puts it upfield to Marshall Payne. Payne looking for Denny Broberg. Pivoting around. Wide open Peter Clark. Just outside the end zone. Around to Payne. And upfield to Trey Lemastres. And that's a 7-6 TUFF goal.
That's just the patented Texas offense. Using the width of the field, moving the disc back and forth at will. Content to not necessarily gain yards, but stretch the defense out. Texas gets a nice hold. 7-6.
Some of the other things that we're seeing, immediately to our left, we have Georgia Tech Tribe down 8-4 at half to Ohio Ultimate. And they just look completely out of it right now. They don't look like they want to be here after that Universe Point loss to Minnesota.
Just got a message from Brian Jones, and he's calculated that Ohio needs to win by 4 to overtake Georgia Tech for that third pre-quarter spot, the third seed in Pool A and the second pre-quarter spot.
Now, mind you, Georgia Tech only has one win so far. Ohio is winless so far. There would actually be a three-way tie with Ohio, UNC, and Georgia Tech, and it would go to point differential as UNC beat Ohio, Georgia Tech beat UNC, and then Ohio would beat Georgia Tech. Right now, Georgia Tech is at +5, having beat UNC by 5. Ohio is at -3, having lost to UNC by 3. If they win by 4, we would have Ohio with a +1 point differential and Georgia Tech with a +1 point differential. And since Ohio has the head-to-head win, they would go ahead to pre-quarters instead of Georgia Tech. And not too long ago, Georgia Tech was 1 point away from most likely taking the 2 spot for this pool, and now they're in danger of missing a trip to bracket play.
Zach and I are plopped down right in between Texas LUFDA and Ohio Georgia Tech, so we'll be able to give you real-time updates.
And this is part of Sky Magazine's coverage of 2012 D1 College Open Nationals, presented by Spin Ultimate and USA Ultimate. My name is Zach Smith of No Look Scuba, and here with Ian Toner of Inside Breaks. And we are ecstatic to provide you coverage as Jay Clark sets the pole. And we'll give you, as that goes out of bounds, we're going to focus on Luther versus Texas for this point. 1 point away from half if Luther can score, and then we will focus on Georgia Tech versus Ohio. Georgia Tech, go ahead.
Looking at LUFDA's O-line, we see the regulars Peter Graffey, Josh Johnson, Aaron Burke, Eric Johnson, Ben Kofed, and standout freshman who's really come into his own in this tournament, Brandon Lafferty.
We also have number 25, Cole Puffer.
EJ, up to Kofed, back to EJ, back to Kofed, who flips the pancake. He was working his way through the Texas junk and just flipped the easy grab.
Here's Will Driscoll with the disc right now on the forehand sideline, marked forehand by Kofed. Up to number 16, Michael Hayes, looking to isolate Driscoll, gets him in the backfield. Driscoll still on that forehand sideline. Lafferty playing some tight defense on James May. Dumping it back to number 22, Chris Brooks. Up to May, forehand sideline. Texas not really using the width of the field. May looking a little uncomfortable with the disc in his hand. Able to get the dump off to Driscoll. Texas still on that forehand sideline. Getting out to space, May wide open as Lafferty is on the wrong side of the field.
Lafferty just wasn't aware that May was sneaking back into that four-side lane. Just kind of went to sleep there. Probably thought May was going to clear right back to the stack. But May took advantage. And we've got ourselves a tie game right here, 7-7.
Texas breaking to tie the game at 7s. Looking to our left, we have Connor Haley earning the under on Anna Malai. This is Ohio with the disc right now. Here's Nick Wetzel with the disc. Looking for Haley underneath, looks him off to number 15, on Ohio. And we're going to still focus on this Texas game. I know we're going back and forth. We want to let you know what's happening. Luther is currently playing for their lives. They do have to win this game. If they could win, they'll force Texas into another tiebreaker. Texas getting set to pull.
Chris Brooks. His pulls have been on all game. Will Driscoll not on this D-line. Interesting to note, we haven't seen Texas stacking too many D-lines, even on important points.
They do have the athletic Adita Yarapagata on the field.
Brooks
And
sends an outside-in backhand that blades into the ground.
wind started to
Josh
pick
Johnson
up.
struggles to get it, but he's able to center it to EJ, who finds Kofed on the first under. Dishy back to EJ. Pumps Graffy deep. EJ around to Lafferty on the fourth side. Right back to EJ on the backhand sideline, looking for a reset to Aaron Burke. He gets it. Looks around. Can't quite get there. Pumps the inside to Ben Kofed. Right back to Josh Johnson. Up to Eric Johnson. Doesn't pull the trigger on the same third throw. Centers to Josh Johnson. With an OI flick to the back corner. Wow, an incredible break throw from Josh Johnson to number 25 on Luther, Cole Puffer. He could not have put that in a better place for his receiver, and only his receiver to get it. Luther's O-line comes up with a stellar hold, taking half 8-7. Here we have
Coming out of half here.
Luther receiving. The pull rolls out the back. Eric Johnson's going to walk it up to his own goal line. Luther coming out in a horizontal set. Kofed and Graffy in the middle. Kofed initiates deep. The throw doesn't go off. It comes to Graffy under. And Graffy instead puts it. Kofed looked like he was supposed to be the deep cut, but there was a miscommunication, and he comes up limping there as he turned around on that cut, calling an injury and grabbing what appeared to be his hamstring. If he can't play for the rest of this game, that's going to be a big loss for Luther, Zach.
Oh, absolutely. One of the main offensive players here slipping out in his place is number 10, Trent Erickson, who we saw play a lot of offensive line.
Very instrumental in that comeback against Michigan.
We also see number 25, Cole Puffer, on the field right now. Just a quick score update. Ohio just held. It is now 10-6 Ohio, and they retain that important 4-point lead.
Jumping back over here to Texas Luther. Luther still up 8-7, but they've turned on this first O point coming out of half. It's going to be Texas's disc.
Disc is checked in. Colby Jansen has the disc. In the center of the field, pushes it out to Ryan Pearsall on the backhand side. Up to Danny Broberg. Broberg scanning the field. Back to Jansen. Jansen in the center of the field. Putting it out to Pearsall, it looks like. There's a stoppage on the play. A travel call on Colby Jansen.
I worked at BC yesterday. It was awesome.
It's actually Marty Martinez with the disc, finding Broberg. Broberg putting it out to space.
Josh Johnson
trying to
giving
make a
chase.
play. And number 14, Ryan Pearsall, able to make the play.
Josh Johnson grabbing his hamstring as well after that bid. Looks like he's going to be all right. But Texas breaks coming out of half. That's an 8-8 tie game. Big break for TUFF. Over on the other field,
Nick Lance just caught it deep and then sent a hammer to space to EJ Lane. And that is 10-7 Georgia Tech.
Nope.
10-7 Ohio. Now, mind you, viewers may not know this, but Luther lost to California Davis. And if they lose this game, they are out. The 2 seed of this pool and the 3 seed coming out of the North Central Regionals.
Chris Brooks getting set to pull for Texas.
We aren't really seeing the same north-central dominance that we saw last year. Minnesota having a hard time retaining their 2 seed in their pool. Wisconsin and Carleton playing as 1 seeds as you would expect, but Minnesota Duluth staying as the last seed in their pool, and Duluth are dropping a game to UC Davis and
Very
possibly
unexpected.
getting knocked out.
So here we go. Pull goes up. Caught by Aaron Burke. EJ immediately catches the centering throw and puts it deep to Ben Kofed, whose hamstring appears to be fine. Burns his man deep. Looks like a set play with EJ going strike and then Kofed busting out of the stack. Nice throw from EJ to Kofed and a good hold for Luther's O-line. They have a 9-8 lead.
Now, if Luther can win, I think it'll be a tie for, I think both these teams will be 2-2. UC Davis only has 1 win, and Michigan Magnum is currently playing Pittsburgh, a Pittsburgh team that is not playing their starters, but it looked like Pittsburgh was still able to hold a lead on Michigan. If Michigan can beat Pittsburgh, this could be a 3-way tie if Texas loses to Luther. And that can make things very interesting. As Luther sets the pole, Danny Broberg receiving it, hitting Trey Lemasters on the forehand side, waving off his cutter, and now looking for Broberg, hitting number 6 in space.
Nope.
Weston Bowden unable to make the catch, and Luther with a chance to break here, but a Luther without Eric Johnson, Peter Graffi, Josh Johnson, or Ben Kofed. So a young Luther LUFDA line. This is Matthias Broner with the disc right now.
Struggling to find a reset.
An IO break to the dump. Hitting number 19, Joe Novak. Novak dumping it back to Broner. Hitting number 33, Devin Rogers. Will Heron. I was looking at the wrong roster. I apologize. Thank you.
And that shot from Will Heron to the opposite corner of the end zone goes too far for the lifter receiver. Texas's O-line is going to be able to pick up with the disc on their own flick cone. Still seems to be some sort of confusion with the observers. There might have been a contested stall before the throw, where there's an injury call, and Peter Graffi is come on the field for Luther. Texas
Lemasters with the disc.
deep in their own end zone.
Broberg getting the dump, swinging it upfield. This is Marty Martinez with the disc right now. Looking for Lemasters, tight on the sideline, gets the dump. Will Heron on the mark.
Might be smart for Texas to consider punting here. They've had a lot of resets right in that corner of the end zone.
Stalkout getting high, and here's your punt. It's going to hang, but the Texas receiver unable to run onto it. And now we have Luther with the chance to break. And this time they have Peter Graffi on the field.
Matthias Broner picks up, but there's a call back. Might be a contested stall.
Usually, I'm okay getting beat deep because I have pretty good closing speed. Yeah. So I'm like, all right, let's get in a foot race. Right.
Still, we apologize for this delay. The observers are taking forever to sort this one out. If it is a stall, it's going to be Luther's disc on Texas's goal line.
And I believe this is Sam Hedrick picking up the disc.
Looking for his dump. Broner can't get open on the reset.
Finds Will Herron for the break. There's a discussion. And it is going to be a break. Luther scores. And let's take a quick look.
That's 10-8.
10-8, Luther breaks, giving themselves a little bit of a cushion. And Luther able to break without, Peter Graffey was in the field, but he didn't really have to run that much. So not really wasting his energy at all. And that was without the Johnson brothers or without Ben Kofed, so.
Good things for Luther. Jumping back over here to Luther, Texas. A reminder, the score is 10-8 Luther. Trading breaks out of halftime.
Eric Johnson's pulled, lands in bounds, and rolls up the back. Doesn't touch the Texas receiver, so he'll be able to walk it up to the line. This is number 12, Colby Jansen with the disc, marked by Aaron Burke. And this looks like mostly the offensive line for Luther, with a few differences. Sharif Magazi with the disc. Jansen now, marked by Burke. Looking for the around. Finds James May. Inside break to Sharif.
Interesting that you don't see Will Driscoll out on this offensive line for Texas.
Sharif inside break to number 20. Now James May on the backhand sideline, force flick. He's able to get this around to Ryan Pearsall. Pearsall looking for the IO. Hitting May. May in the center of the field. Looking for Pearsall, marked by Eric Johnson. Pearsall falling, able to make this grab. Puts up an outside in flick. He's got no one. He's got two receivers, actually. One of them drops it, possibly calling a foul call. That just looks like it came off clean, but it actually does seem like the discussion between Josh Johnson and James May.
Looks like a discussion between the dump and the dump defender, whether or not there might have been a defensive foul there. And it's interesting, Pearsall's throw was on the money to, I believe, not quite sure which receiver it was, but number 1 on Texas, that's
Javon Liu.
Kind of went up and doinked the disc when it could have fallen easily into the arms of the Texas receiver behind him. Interesting that his teammate didn't call him off there. So here's May, somehow going to get the disc back for Texas in the center of the field, marked by Josh Johnson. I believe what happened was on that throw where Pearsall fell down and caught the reset, Josh Johnson called a stall on May, and that's why the disc came back to May. The disc was just tapped back in. May reset to Pearsall, but Josh Johnson believes that he stalled him once again. Neither player going to the observer for a definitive ruling yet.
Ohio takes an 11-7 lead on Georgia Tech during that stoppage.
Still some discussion. Looks like it's going to be May's disc possibly coming in on stall 8 again. And a reset to Pearsall, who makes a one-handed grab, then tries for the outside in break. Lefty OI flick across the field once again, but this one is nowhere near either of his receivers.
Can you mention your passcode? I want to check something. Can you do your thing? I want to check scoreboard real quick.
Peter Graffey gets the disc for LUFDA, puts it up deep. Ben Kofed and another player giving chase. A Texas defender, number 73, Chris Riley, made up a lot of ground, came in. Looks like he made contact with the Luther receiver before he could get a hand on it. Interesting to see if I think there's going to be a foul call. Luther receiver and TUFF defender trying to sort things out. looks like we might have an uncontested foul. Is going to be Luther's disc on the goal line. We're going to have number 7, Mike Reddig, picking up after being fouled on that easy catch attempt. He tries a quick dishy for Eric Johnson, and that's easily swatted away by Texas. Eric Johnson visibly upset with Reddig's decision. Texas picking up on their own goal line. Around to Pearsall. Pearsall cross field. Riley makes the grab. Back around to May. Another stoppage. This game is really starting to slow down.
I got a message from Red Sox Nation 08 telling me that the outcome of this game, the outcome of the Michigan-Pittsburgh game has no bearing on Michigan's future, that Michigan's fate is completely reliant on this game, and that is not true. Currently, if Michigan and Luther both lose against their respective opponents, Luther still has the head-to-head against Michigan. Actually, no, it would turn into a 3-way tie because Cal Davis.
Eric Johnson snags a poach D, and the Texas receiver is going to try and call a strip on Eric Johnson. Looked like Johnson was there to make the play.
We're going to run into two different possibilities. If Luther loses this game and so does Michigan, we'll have a 3-way tie with Michigan, Luther, and Cal Davis. If Luther wins and Michigan wins, Luther advances. Well, we have a 3-way tie with Luther, Texas, and Michigan. And if Luther wins and Michigan loses, then we don't really have to worry about anything.
Still have some discussion going on here.
Actually, Michigan lost to Texas, so if Luther wins, Michigan's fate has been decided.
And the observer is going to uphold the strip call. It's going to be Texas's disc at the attacking brick mark. Disc comes back into May. May looking to move the disc, working at the back of the vert stack.
Well, I want to go to the bathroom, so.
Because that's illegal.
Up line to number 25, Sharif Magazi. Another call slowing this game down.
Last year we graduated about 5 seniors, but they were all...
Magazi trying to get the disc off the line. Number 12, Colby Jansen, lays out to save possession on the reset. Pearsall now in the middle of the field. Another call stopping this game.
Talk to me about this hill.
If anything, all these stoppages benefit Luther with their top line out there being able to catch their breath. Texas gets it to Javon Liu. Javon Liu throws it around, looking for Jansen, but it's just way too far out of reach. It's going to be Luther's disc once again. Eric Johnson picks up and immediately calls timeout. Luther clinging to a 10-8 lead. Coming back here to Texas Luther. Reminder, it's 10-8 Luther. Disc is tapped in Eric Johnson's hands. Peter Graffey going deep, and the throw goes up to Graffey. Graffey easily skies Liu. He's alone on the goal line. Tries to put a throw to space to number 10,
Erickson.
Trent Erickson, but Liu fouls him, preventing that throw from getting off. It's going to be Graffey's disc on the goal line with a new stall count. Graffey looking for a reset. Finds
Fine.
Eric Johnson. Johnson looking around. He's stranded. Floats an OI blade. And Erickson is there to clean up the trash. Just alone in the middle of the end zone. None of the Texas defenders really knew the disc was up. They were kind of jumping, standing with their backs to the disc, waving their hands in the air. Luther taking an 11-8 lead. An 11-8 Luther up on Texas. Luther getting set to pull. Looks like Matthias Broner is going to pull for Luther.
And I believe we're about a minute to 2 minutes away from soft cap. And Ohio is running out of time as they shoot deep to Sion. Koch is in there, but Sion's able to make the catch and make it a 12-9 lead.
Texas coming out in their vertical stack.
Here's Danny Broberg with the disc, and there's a stoppage. Now with soft cap most likely going off within the next point for Ohio and within this point for Luther, Ohio's game will be to 14, and this game, which is now at 11-8, will be either to 13 or 14, depending on its outcome. Weston Bowden pushing it upfield. There's another stoppage. This is Hunter Ruffin with the disc. And Texas really looking like they're playing their, looks like they're playing their secondary players.
Still have yet to see Will Driscoll come back out on the field.
Now I wonder if they're just content with, possibly losing this game. Here's Broberg with the disc. Up to number 7, past the laying out. Luther defender, this is Wilson getting it back to Broberg. Broberg inside break. Getting it back now. Forehand sideline, not really using the full width of this field. Broberg miscommunication with his fellow handler, and Luther with the opportunity to go up 12-8 now.
Thias Broner looking like he's going to pick up. Luther pushing its stack way to the sideline, looking to try and isolate Erickson, and it's an OI throw to space. Is it going to sail out the back? Erickson's going to make the grab inbounds. A nice touch trust throw. And Luther goes up 12-8, just as the hard cap sounds. So it looks like this game is going to be to 14, correct?
Yeah, this game is going to be to 14. Georgia Tech just scored to make it 12-10. So both of these games will be to 14. Ohio needs to score and break in order. They have to win 14-10 in order for Georgia Tech to be eliminated and for them to advance. If Georgia Tech scores one more point, they're going to be fine and they're going to advance to pre-quarters.
Be interesting to know exactly what the Georgia Tech coaches know about this point differential business. Looking at the line that Georgia Tech has out, we see David Cook, Walsh, Nick Lance. Don't see Jay Clark. Andrew Hollingworth giving instruction to his defensive line.
Texas getting set to receive. Still no Will Driscoll. And it looks like Danny Broberg is now off the field. I think Texas is resigning the rest of this game. And they'll be playing. I think Luther's going to take this too, as both these teams will be 2-2. And Luther will have Colorado. Texas will have Tufts. Working it up the 4 side. Here is number 20 getting the around, Travis Patrick. But it looks like it's coming back. Sharif with the disc now, Magazi. Finds number 5, Matt Haytons.
An update over on the other field real quickly. Mike Seller has scored for Ohio to make it 13-10.
Texas is grinding upfield, and they eventually score. It is now 12-9. Luther in this game to 14.
Let's go Tech!
Do or die here for Georgia Tech.
And we're going to shift our attention to this Ohio game, as they will have to break in order to win this game, in order to advance to pre-quarters.
Ohio seems to be aware of the situation.
So this seems to be this is basically a universe point kind of scenario right now,
From here on out, yes.
where if Georgia Tech scores, regardless of the fact that they might lose the game, if they score, they advance to pre-quarters. If Ohio scores, they
win the game and lock up the pre-quarters. berth.
Exactly. Nick
Ohio.
Wetzel with the pull, outside in, trailing towards the forehand sideline. Fish with the disc in the center of the field, looking for Lance, finds him on the backhand sideline, force flick. Wetzel on the mark. Back to Fish in the center of the field, finding Plunkett. Plunkett looking for Lane, decides to look him off, and there's a stoppage on the play. It's 12-9, Luther. 13-9.
Yo, Jack, where's that next game?
Plunkett checking the disc in.
Where's your next game?
High saw situation. Finding Lance in tight traffic. Lance marked by Wetzel, trapped in the forehand sideline. Getting the around to Hunter. Things are getting tight. Here's Lance again, still on that forehand sideline. Jay Clark needs to get into the mix. Lance able to swing it around to Fish. IO break gets away from him. Clark able to hold on to it. Inside break to Hunter. Ruled in bounds. And Georgia Tech has just sealed their berth into quarterfinals.
Pre-quarterfinals.
Excuse me, pre-quarterfinals. Ohio will be knocked out of play. So it is currently 13-11 Ohio, and they're most likely going to walk away with this game, as you would expect Georgia Tech to sit everyone now.
Jay Clark comes off the field.
Lance is not on the field either. And you see your standard defensive line for Georgia Tech.
Looks like Georgia Tech is going to have a crossover matchup with the two finisher from Pool D, which would be UCF. A little regional rematch, right, Zach?
Yes, sir. And also they played at warm-up earlier in the season. UCF holds that matchup 2-0 right now. Texas looking to move it.
UCF looking a little shakier today than they did yesterday. I wonder if the nerves are starting to get to them, with it being their first time at nationals.
And we'll call the rest of this Luther game as Matt Hayton's with the disc right now. Looking for a reset. Gets it to number 18, Hunter Ruffin. Ruffin pivoting, looking for a reset. Finds Hayton's on the fore side. Texas getting stuffed in that corner. Finding Sharif Magazi. Sharif inside. Timer number 73, Chris Riley. Riley out to space for number 7, Wilson. Out to Ruffin. Hayes able to make the grab, push it upfield to Riley, just outside the end zone, looking to punch it in, using his hands and the disc to push away his defender. And Iowa just finished the game off. Ohio, just finished the game off to make it 14-11 for the victory. But again, they win by only 3. Georgia Tech will advance to pre-quarters to play UCF. And Georgia Tech certainly flirting with disaster in this game, but they're able to get that break. And this is Hunter Ruffin getting fouled on the around attempt.
Reminder, it's currently 13-9 Luther up on Texas. This is a game to 14.
Laying out Texas receiver. Hayes making the grab. Take a quick look to our left. Does it look like Georgia Tech just advanced to pre-quarters to you?
They look spent. I'll tell you that much.
Texas grinding. Here's O'Reilly outside the end zone. Inside break to number 7, Kenton Wilson, as Texas is able to hold with a young line out there to make it 13-10 game. Luther with the disc on offense with 4 chances to score and advance to pre-quarters.
Looking at Luther's offensive line, see Peter Graffey, Eric Johnson, Ben Kofed, Josh Johnson, Brendan Lafferty, Puffer, Burke.
And I think a lot of what we've seen are these 2 seeds, these 3 seeds trying to beat the 1 seed of their pool in order to win their pool and get a bye to quarters. And while that's valiant, you see a lot of these teams have wasted their energy. Luther is exhausted right now, and they're going to win this. They're most likely going to win this game against Texas, who's playing younger lines, and they're going to have to face off against Colorado, who is fresh after not playing any of their stars in that loss against Tufts, or most likely loss against Tufts. Tufts playing their normal players will probably still be fresh, but they'll battle against a fresh Texas, who has not played any of their real star players in order to take down Luther in the second half. And then Georgia Tech is spent after almost trying. I mean, they should have gone for that win against Minnesota, and they almost get it, and now they have to play UCF, which to a spectator seems like a death sentence. As Josh Johnson fields it, pushes it to Eric Johnson in the center of the field, now hits Ben Kofed. Kofed looking for the center, hits Josh Johnson on the backhand sideline, forced backhand, around to Eric Johnson. Eric Johnson pivoting it around, hitting Peter Graffey. Graffey up to Josh Johnson. Now to Ben Kofed, still on the backhand sideline. EJ cutting up line. EJ getting the disc. Looks like half field. Up to Perk, who's just outside the end zone. And Luther scores, and they will win 14-10, advancing to pre-quarters, I believe, taking the 2 spot, where they will play Colorado. Texas takes the 3, where they will play Tufts. Thank you for tuning in to our last round of pool play coverage. We'll be back for pre-quarters action. This has been Zach Smith and Ian Toner with Skyd Magazine with our Division I open coverage of college nationals, presented by Spin Ultimate and USA Ultimate.